I hit burnout while raising my daughter and building a business. But it didn't look like a breakdown. It looked like lying awake at 3 a.m. with my mind racing and feeling like I was slowly switching off. The strange part, I was a neurotherapist. I understood the nervous system, stress and burnout, and yet I still didn't see it happening. In this video, I'm sharing the 5 biggest lessons burnout taught me, and the one I wish I'd learned years earlier. The first thing I learned is that knowledge doesn't automatically create self-awareness. I thought that working as a neurotherapist and understanding stress in the nervous system would protect me. But it didn't, because I wasn't applying that same awareness to myself. I was building my business and raising my young daughter, and I loved both roles. Being a mum was incredibly rewarding. Building my business gave me purpose and achievement, but I never stopped to ask how much energy I was actually giving. In my mind, both roles deserved 100%, so I gave it. The first place I paid for it was sleep. I'd wake up between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m, wide awake, my mind listing everything I still had to do. I can see now I was focused on helping and caring, building, achieving, all good things, but I wasn't paying attention to what it was costing me. One of the biggest lessons I learned is this: it's much easier to see other people's patterns than it is to see our own. I could recognise burnout in my clients, but I couldn't see the beliefs driving my own behaviour. Beliefs about responsibility, being dependable, working hard and not letting people down. And that's the tricky part. When your identity is the capable one, you don't notice you're burning out. You just get better at pushing through. The more I pushed through, the more I realised something had shifted negatively. And it wasn't just tiredness. The second thing I learned was that I'd become disconnected from my body. I was living almost entirely in my head, analysing, planning, problem solving, thinking constantly. My sleep was disrupted, I had persistent brain fog, and most of my energy went into overriding how I felt just to keep on top of things. Then one day I finally made time for a yoga class, and at the end I was lying on the floor and I noticed something I hadn't felt in a long time. My nervous system wasn't on. I was actually letting go for the first time in ages. I wasn't thinking or doing, I was just being, and it felt so peaceful. And then I felt sad because I realised how numb I'd been. And right after that came relief. I felt this overwhelming sense of relief, like I'd come home. I got teary, sadness and joy all at the same time, thinking, this is what life is supposed to be like. This is what I've been missing, and this is what I need. And yet I'd come so far away from it. That experience taught me something important. Healing doesn't happen through understanding alone. It happens when we reconnect with what our body is trying to tell us. The third thing I learned is that burnout rarely comes out of nowhere. My warning signs had been there for a long time. The problem was I had a reason for every single one of them. Every symptom had a perfectly reasonable explanation. I'm tired because I have a young child. I'm hormonal. I just need a bit of time off. So I didn't fully connect the dots. I just kept going. Eventually, all my energy went into work and parenting. Once those responsibilities were done, I had nothing left. I wasn't doing anything for myself. I was simply recovering enough to do it all the next day. And somehow, I still believed I could push through. Underneath that was a belief that being responsible meant carrying on no matter how I felt, being, the good girl. And what I learned is this: the body whispers before it screams. It starts with things you can explain away, like sleep, brain fog, overwhelm. Mine had been whispering for years. I simply wasn't listening. The fourth thing I learned was that burnout wasn't really the problem. Burnout was the messenger. And if you're stuck thinking, what's wrong with me? Maybe a better question is, what needs to change around me and within me, so my body can finally exhale. At first, I thought I just needed more sleep, but even when I did sleep, I didn't feel restored because my nervous system was overloaded by the way my life was set up. It wasn't one cause, it was a stack. A baby, years of broken sleep, changing hormones, building a business, a husband who was away for months at a time for work, and no immediate family around me, so very little support. And yet, I was still expecting myself to function like I was in my 20s. And that was a wake-up call. Life had changed, my body had changed, and what I needed had changed too. So I stopped trying to push through and started changing the inputs, like regulating my nervous system, questioning the beliefs underneath it, especially the good girl one, the belief I had to carry everything. And I learned to say no, because I couldn't heal in the same patterns that made me unwell. The fifth thing I learned is that burnout became a turning point. At the time, it felt like everything was falling apart, and in a way it was. It felt like I was losing a version of myself. But what I gained was more valuable, a completely different understanding of healing. Before burnout, I focused heavily on the brain and behaviour, what you think, what you do, how you change habits. But after burnout, I realised something important. Understanding your mind just isn't enough. It isn't enough if your nervous system is still stuck in survival mode. You have to look at the whole person. And that experience changed how I work with clients today, because I no longer see burnout as simply stress or exhaustion. I see it as a message from the whole system: body, mind, emotions, belief, life circumstances. So if you're in this right now, struggling with burnout, I want you to remember this. It doesn't mean you've failed. It often means you've been carrying too much for too long. Your body's now communicating, and when you start listening, there is a way back. But not back to who you were before, forward in a way of living that supports you instead of drains you.